InvestorIdeas.com podcast.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of InvestorIdeas.com Podcasts. In today's podcast, going to be looking at a few public company announcements from CURLF Holdings Incorporated, trading on the CSE as CURA and the OTCQX as CURLF, Grow Life Incorporated, trading on the OTCQB as PHOT, the BC Bud Corporation, trading on the CSE as BCBC, as well as Aurora Cannabis Incorporated, trading on the NASDAQ and the TSX as ACB. First, starting with CURLF Holdings Incorporated, who announced earlier this week that its initial batches of New York whole flower have cleared testing by third-party labs and that the sales of the three initial strains began this week with the company's Newborough location and was followed by CURLF's Carl Place, Forest Hills, and Plattsburgh locations. Our dispensaries and our patients have been waiting a long time for this day, and we couldn't be happier to be able to deliver whole flower product to all four of our New York locations in the next day or so and to the majority of the wholesale partners within the month, said Joe Bayern, CEO of CURLF. Now, fortunately, we've been preparing for this moment, and we're more than ready with plenty of product for all of our New York locations. We're very grateful to Governor Hochul and the OCM for moving this forward so quickly, and we look forward to a robust sales and happy customers. And we appreciate the patience and loyalty of our patients as we work towards this milestone. Now, prior to this month, cannabis was only available to New York patients in ground form, and a source of frustration for many patients who prefer the plant's medicinal applications in its purest and most natural format. Now, CURLF whole flower will also be available to the majority of the company's wholesale partners in the state by the end of the month, ensuring that the company maintains its position as the New York market leader and that its products will be available throughout the state. So, New York market continuing to develop. If you listen to our recent interview with Narbe Alexandrian from Riv Capital, he discussed very openly the obvious benefits of limited license states such as New York. Again, some of our past interviews have also discussed the sort of benefits of New York and some of those other limited license markets. And I do expect that over the next few months, as you continue to see more product availability within New York market, as well as a few of the other limited license markets within the states that are, again, more in the development phase as far as which products are allowed to be sold in stores, how many dispensaries are open, etc. I do think that obviously that will be a big benefit for the companies that are in those states, especially for CURLF over the next couple of months, being able to get their products into pretty much every sort of retail dispensary within New York. Should be very doable for them, and I do think that'll go a long way for their branding in the East Coast, as they've already built up a good reputation in the other markets they've been established in. So definitely something to pay attention to as that market continues to develop and you see more and more products become available. It'll be interesting to see, again, how the branding tracks within the East Coast markets, as well as sort of which companies. I mean, CURLF definitely will be one of the main dominators within that space, but it'll be interesting to see out of the other few companies within those limited license markets, which ones are able to really jump ahead, as well as, again, what sort of product categories become maybe the biggest sellers, if there's any difference between some of the West Coast counterpart markets. Next, looking at Aurora Cannabis Incorporated, who announced earlier this week a manufacturing agreement with the Valens Company Incorporated to manufacture a new seasonal offering in the mint category. Launching under the Drift Turbo, the company's mainstream adult-use recreational brand, the new Canna-Cane Mints are a two-piece hard peppermint candy containing 10 milligrams of THC, 5 milligrams per piece. And this is the first product offering under the manufacturing agreement, which is expected to expand in the coming months. We know that Canadian cannabis consumers are looking for novelty and variety, and seasonal offerings are a key approach to strategically expanding our portfolio of adult-use products, said Miguel Martin, CEO of Aurora Cannabis. Now, Valens' exceptional manufacturing capabilities complement our product lineup this coming holiday season, and our strategic relationship is designed to unlock efficiencies as we seek to bring innovation to market with speed and differentiation that connects with consumers. Now, the cannabis edibles will be launched and manufactured using Sourcey trademark by Valens Emulsion Technology, which is a patented in-house emulsion technology that transforms cannabis oils into water-soluble forms to infuse foods, liquids, and topicals without the taste or smell of cannabis. Tyler Robson, the Chief Executive Officer, co-founder, and the chair of the Valens Company, said, "This is an important milestone for the Canadian cannabis market as two of the largest companies in this sector come together. We've admired Aurora for their leadership in the continuing to elevate and challenge industry standards, And our companies share the same ethos when it comes to bringing the highest quality products to market and offering premium experience to the customers. So this is another big step forward, definitely for the Valence Company. I would say that this is kind of a sign of the times for Aurora Cannabis. Obviously, Aurora has had their own in-house manufacturing capabilities in the past. They do have massive facilities. Most of them they've had to sell off or at least slow down the development of, though, over the last couple of years. And I do think this is very much a testament to the quality of products that the Valence has been creating. Again, through their CSE technology, they've really managed to create very consistent and I think very consumer-friendly products for the Canadian market. A lot of companies have worked with them in the past, mostly more smaller and niche style companies, and now you're seeing larger and larger producers wanting to work with the Valence Company. Obviously, again, working with Aurora now, I think, is a big step upwards somewhat for the Valence Company, as this will give them a lot of product to work with over the next coming months and possibly years. Whereas, again, for Aurora, I do think that this is showing that some of their own Cannabis 2.0 products that they have launched into the market in the past have not been as well received as they would have preferred. So working with, I think, the Valence will give them more of a guarantee of product consistency and quality. I do like the gimmicky aspect of it. I do think that that's something that is very much missing from the recreational market in Canada, less so in the US. There's a lot more sort of gift pack options. There's a lot more marketing opportunities. And obviously, as far as product development and product categories, it's a way bigger and broader section than it is in Canada. That being said, again, due to the limited sort of marketing control within Canada or the sort of promotions any of these retailers or even the companies are sort of able to do, I think that this will be very well received, as this is a type of thing that many people are going to be looking for this holiday season, which is, I do think that very much this year you're going to see, over the last 2 years, we saw cannabis take over a much bigger market share as far as gift giving for the holiday season. And I do think that in general, always in the past, alcohol has been kind of the safe gift for many people. I think that's changing somewhat, and I think you're seeing a lot more people who are now starting to renew their interest in weed or get a brand new interest in cannabis and now are looking for gifts that are appropriate with that. There's obviously lots of easy stocking stuffers you can get for the cannabis industry, but I do think that having some sort of a themed edible, for instance, the peppermint and mint idea that Aurora here is launching, I think that'll be something that people will be looking for as either a stocking stuffer or people who are trying to make their own cannabis advent calendars. I know that that's something that many people are already looking for. There's a few companies in the States that have done sort of gimmicky versions of that, but there's nothing official. And again, in the Canadian market, there's nothing really remotely official to that. So again, if you can have these sort of gimmicky products, I think that those will be an easy purchase for a lot of people who are just looking to get last minute gifts or stocking stuffers. And it'll be interesting to pay attention to this year how that does track, to see how much more or less or the same amount of market share that cannabis gifts start taking up within the holiday season. Again, I do think that it's going to become something that becomes either equal or even greater than sort of alcohol as far as the safe, easy gift choice for many people this year. Looking next at the BC Bud Corporation, who announced a partnership between its in-house craft concentrate brand, Solventless Solutions, and microcultivator Habitat certified organic flower brand Cake and Caviar. Now, an industry-leading partnership, a first of its kind in Canada, Solventless Solutions will work in tandem with Habitat's Cake and Caviar to produce farm-to-table premium solventless extracts using meticulously selected cultivars to be flash frozen immediately after harvest. Now, through this innovative collaboration, Solventless Solutions will be the industry's premium destination for small-scale, chemical-free extraction with the ability to process biomass from microcultivators. Working with the team at Solventless Solutions, we're excited to add top-shelf rosin products to our portfolio using our unique genetics. Partnering with experts is crucial in order for Habitat to continue with existing micro operations under cultivation, research, and development. Thus, we're grateful for the opportunity to expand alongside this talented team, commented Rudy Scheibel, CEO of Habitat. Now, engaging in the partnership with Habitat as a superior top-shelf flower producer creates a seamless conduit for Solventless Solutions to begin bringing craft concentrates to the market, and the company will release concentrates under its in-house brands, allowing for building and strengthening of new infrastructure and continued relationships with cultivars. And this will allow the continued research and dynamic development for Habitat's growing genetic lineup. very much what I've been talking about many times over the last couple of years, which is, again, you're going to continue to see more development of sort of the craft cultivator and craft premium market when you're looking at BC or really all of Canada. And again, you're seeing much more of this in developed markets like Nevada and California. There's a lot more premium products. I will say there isn't as much focus on solventless extracts in the US as there is. I guess it would be somewhat equal. But I do think you're seeing a little bit more attention, or at least more products offerings within the standard recreational market in Canada than you do across the board in the US. I think there is definitely a rosin market in the US, but it's not quite as big just due to the vast array of product offerings that are also there. In Canada, obviously, there's a limit on the type of products you can bring to market. So I do think right now, when you're looking at the sort of premium category for everything, especially with concentrates, the live rosin is where everyone is heading to. So I think solventless solutions product here that they're going to create with cake and caviar is going to be very well received. And hopefully this is, again, the trend that we're going to continue to see, which is hopefully companies like a BC Bud Corporation and specifically their solventless solutions brand working with other premium craft cultivators. And this is what is bringing again, people from the illicit market into the recreational market. This type of partnership and this type of product offering is really the only thing that's actually competing with the illicit market, at least in the Canadian side of things, is you have to bring product that is of a caliber that can't be really created or recreated within the illicit market. Not that illicit producers cannot produce some amazing live rosin. I just think that it's a lot more work, and you're seeing less and less of them doing that. Also, there's not as much of a need due to the sort of price gouging that's going on in the illicit market compared to the recreational market. Whereas, again, if you can produce this sort of premium from a specific craft cultivator in BC that's also working with a craft concentrate brand, I do think that that'll, again, be very well received, and hopefully as well will continue to add more legitimacy to the recreational market in Canada, so that way people are seeing it, that there is product offerings there that are worth the dollar value that is currently on the market today, as opposed to being seen as sort of overpriced and overmarketed. Lastly today, looking at GrowLife Incorporated, who announced that it's entered into an exclusive distribution agreement with the leading mushroom cultivation equipment supplier in Canada, MyFungi Incorporated, whereas the company will have the exclusive right to market and distribute its proprietary line of mushroom cultivation equipment throughout the U.S. And this marks the company's entrance into the expanding mushroom industry, servicing both business-to-business and business-to-customers by supplying hard-to-find essential equipment for mushroom cultivation. Now, mushroom cultivation has seen a significant spike in growth in the recent years, with consumer demand for specialty mushrooms for food, wellness, nutraceutical, and medical purposes exploding. And mushroom cultivation is extremely specialized and requires specialized equipment to produce at large scale. Now, as a leader in cultivation equipment for the cannabis industry, GrowLife's progression into offering these products through its robust network of hydroponic and e-commerce sellers is natural and aligns with the core competencies of the company. Moving into the mushroom cultivation equipment space is a natural progression for GrowLife, and working with MyFungi is the perfect illustration of how we are leveraging our long history of cultivation expertise to bring innovative and high-demand products to emerging markets, said Marco Heggie, CEO of GrowLife. Now, the founder of MyFungi, Mr. David Auger, is previous leader of our Canadian operations and a longtime friend of GrowLife. Now, Dave has built a strong supply chain for difficult-to-obtain equipment, such as sterilized substrates, which are required for cultivating food and medical-grade mushrooms, and having one of the strongest and only supply chains of these products is a major differentiator for GrowLife and creates a completely new opportunity for growth of our company. GrowLife, who is obviously, again, recognized for indoor cultivation products and services for the cannabis industry, now also adapting to the mushroom industry for the U.S., I think that this will obviously be extremely well received. If you're looking at all the trends for mushrooms, whether you're looking at psilocybin or whether you're looking at gourmet food mushrooms or just general wellness mushrooms, the trends are picking up quite dramatically in all three markets. And you're seeing a lot of, similarly to what we saw over the last couple of years, this is part of what many are referring to as the green bloom, where you're seeing a vast array of people who are now spending a lot more time and a lot more money on-home gardening, on-home cultivation. A lot of this can be attested to COVID, to people being trapped inside in their own house, to realizing that food shortages could be around the corner, to having a sense of self-sustainability, or just general interest out of boredom. Again, sort of pick your poison, but in general, you've seen a massive, massive growth in what is going on in just general plant cultivation, and now you're starting to see that translate into mushroom cultivation, which actually, as far as grow equipment wise, yes, it can be slightly more expensive for the initial setup, but once you do have some of your cultivation equipment, it's actually insanely cheap by comparison to just cultivating even regular plants, just due to the low nutrient and sort of overall maintenance requirements that mushrooms require for cultivation. And again, once you do have sort of your system going and you're creating liquid cultures, or at least being able to create spore prints to continue your cultivation practices, you can basically create infinite mushrooms out of sort of that initial startup. And really, this type of partnership you're seeing here really is a similar testament to what we've seen within the cannabis industry over the last few years, which is the equipment side of the industry saw a much larger boom in some senses than even just the general bud sales in some markets. So, for instance, Scott's Miracle-Gro. It saw the benefits of this not just from general agriculture, but also from the cannabis industry. And this could be a company that also eventually jumps into the mushroom space as well and starts to benefit. And I do think that this is a similar type of thing for Grow Life here, is them working with My Fungi Incorporated, bringing those products to the U.S. market and selling it through their already established sales channels. I think it'll be very much a no-brainer. It'll just be interesting to see how much this picks up and if this translates into other sort of competitors within this space. Like I said, the Scott's Miracle-Gros of the sort of world could very much also jump very heavily handed into the mushroom cultivation space. It's not a lot of different requirements, just a few different pieces of equipment. And in general, I do think that a lot of these things, or at least some of them, are sort of cross-compatible in that some of the equipment you would need for cannabis cultivation would also be what you'd need for mushroom cultivation. Both are focused on a lot of sanitation, mushroom cultivation much more so. So you could also see that if there is a big boom in mushroom cultivation, which it does seem that there's going to be, especially I think more so even as a food source than even when you're looking at psilocybin, even though psilocybin is being decriminalized in many states and many provinces and many cities around the world. And you are seeing a decriminalization as well as far as the understanding of growing. So you could grow for personal consumption and no longer be charged criminally in many states now. And I do think that's going to open up a huge market for people to grow psilocybin mushrooms. But I also think that in general, when people are just looking at food and wellness right now, you're seeing so much attention to reishi mushrooms. You're seeing so much attention to other wellness mushrooms that are now being put in food sources or in beverages, again, in nutraceutical combinations. And I do think that there's a big demand for these types of products, and especially as more people are looking at their food sources, their meat sources, and their overall health, they are going to start looking at, again, mushroom cultivation, which could also lead to another huge boom in the sanitation industry, which would be another interesting thing to see companies, again, that are selling all these sanitary products that took a huge, massive boom from COVID, could now also easily transition into the mushroom cultivation space as, again, you require a lot of sanitizer and a lot of sterilization chemicals when you're dealing with mushroom cultivation. So definitely be interesting to see how this continues to develop, but I think that that's a very obvious sign of the times, is this partnership with Grow Life and My Fungi Incorporated. That's all for today's podcast. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated's CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.